What's up, you amazing hackers? I hope you're all doing well today. So, say you're scanning your target, you're doing your Nmap scans, you're doing your Nikto scans, and you think, oh my god, I want to automate this stuff. Let's get into some Bash for hackers, shall we? Now, the first thing I want to tell you guys is, of course, there are going to be many different environments that you're going to be able to choose from, like Bash, C Shell, etc. But I just use Bash because it's basically installed on almost any system that supports Unix at least. So that's where you're going with Bash. And of course, first of all, you're going to use an editor. Any editor will do. I'm going to use Nano for this one, but you can use VI. I am just a noob, so I'm going to use my noobiest program. And let's call it nmap.shell, shall we? Now, first of all, of course, you really want to define what type of script you're going to run. So we're going to do that in here, bin bash. So simple as that. When we have that, of course, why did I close that? So we want to do our basic echoing, of course, hello world, just to see that we get our basic program working. Same as we would here, echo hello world. We just put that into a script form, and if we try to execute that nmap.shell, it's not going to work. Some of you guys might already know why, and as you guys can see here, the permissions for the script are denied. So we're going to have to do a change mod command. We're going to do the +x for making it executable parameter, and we're going to do this on nmap.shell. Now, if you run the same script again, as you guys can see, we do get our hello world output. Pretty cool, pretty simple. Now, let's say you want to add some ways of reading some input from that file. So let's do nano again. Let's say we want to get our IP address or host name from the user, because let's face it, you don't want to run some static boring script. It needs to be interactable. So we'll just do a read command, and we'll use the -p parameter for prompt, and we'll ask the user for the IP/host name. Now, of course, we also need to put this into a variable, so we'll call this variable IP to make it easy, and then we'll also want to print this variable to check if it worked. Now, as you guys noticed, I used a double quote in here instead of a single quote, and I'll show you guys why. Because when I put this variable in here to be printed, so let's save this real quick and let's run this again. Let's do www.google.com. There we go, and when we run this, you guys can see that the variable does get resolved. Now, say that I change these to single quotes. This is pretty important, so if you guys ever run into this issue, you will probably recognize it immediately. This variable that we have in here, google.com, is not going to get resolved, as you guys can see. So that's a very important difference between the types of quotes. But of course, we don't really care about echoing this stuff. We just want to run our nmap scans because we're cool lead hackers and we want to do our good scans. We want to do some good parameters with that, so we'll use that -c or sc for standard scripts and sv for banner enumeration. And we want to do this on the IP address that we entered. So if we do this again, and if we run our script on google.com again, it's going to start up a basic nmap script. So pretty cool, nothing fancy about that. Let's say we want to add some other scripts to there, like Nikto --host, and then we can just use the same parameter again, and it will run Nikto as well. So now this is getting a little bit more advanced, pretty cool. But of course, there we go, you want to get some if statements in there as well, because sometimes you want to run script, sometimes you want to do the other one. So let's get an if statement in here as well. Again, we'll need to read another variable, so we'll call this Nikto, and we'll ask the user to prompt for yes or no. This doesn't really, you can change this, but we're not going to get too fancy. I want you guys to explore some on your own. So we'll do run Nikto, and then we'll do our if statement. Now, it's really important, guys, that between the if statement and the square bracket that you guys put a space, and then again between the square bracket and the double quote. Remember, guys, double quote, very important, not a single quote in here, because we want to resolve our variable and we want to compare it to yes or no. We want to run in the yes case. Ooh, and I almost forgot it, guys, space between the double quotes and the brackets. We want to then run nicto, and otherwise we don't want to do anything. So we'll end our if here. Of course, you guys can also add some else statements, but for us, we will just end our if statement there. So if we go to google.com again for the same script, and it'll ask us for nicto yes or no, and if we say yes, it'll start nicto after it's done with the nmap scan. These are all pretty basic scripts that you guys can use to automate your workflow a little bit. You guys can use any tool that you would on your command line. So you can grep, you can cut, you can awk, you can do anything that you can imagine. You can chain all of these really cool tools together. But of course you might also want to run this on your virtual private server, because why else would you have gotten the damn thing? It's not doing anything anyway, it's just sitting idle. So we can of course run this on our VPS, but to do that we're going to have to be careful, because when we disconnect from our VPS, of course the running terminal process is also going to get killed. A couple of things we can do for that. No hangup command is going to allow the command to keep running even if our command line interface disconnects, and then we just run our command. But as you guys might be aware, this is going to cause some issues for now. And then we can also put our ampersand sign behind there, and if we do that, we will also run this process independently from our current terminal. But as you guys noticed, there's already an issue. TTY input it says in here, and that's of course because it requires input this script. So we're going to have to give it that input, but that's not possible if we want to do it like this. Now there are a couple of different options. Of course we can add the input to the script itself, or we can edit the input as a parameter. So we're going to go with the second option in here, because we want this to be a dynamic script. We don't want it to be too static. So as you guys can see, I already created some scripts in here, and if we look at test.shell, there we go, you guys can see that I actually read in an option here. Now this is pretty basic syntax, while get options, and then I read in the option H. I actually just assign that option, and then I echo it just for some debugging, and then I do the same basic commands. So if we do it like this, /test.shell, and we give it the H parameter, we go www.google.com. Now this is something, if we put this in a no hangup command, there we go, and we put our ampersand sign behind this, we can actually run this on our virtual private server. Now, as you guys might have noticed, I'm pretty sick today, so if you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate a like. Every time I ask you guys for a like, you do it. You guys are so freaking amazing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye everybody, see you soon.